Hoi hoi. If you've known me for any length of time, then you know I hate talking about gear. When people email me thousands and thousands of times a year asking for gear recommendations, I generally just tell them you need a microphone and a laptop and a DAW, and you have more than enough to get started in the world of sound design and game audio. And it's true, you really don't need much more than any of those things to get a professional level of sound out of your setup. But that being said, today, unfortunately, I'm here to talk about a piece of gear that has actually improved my workflow, unfortunately for all of us. And don't mind the little bruise, I was just at jujitsu. The type of gear I'm talking about today is known as an ultrasonic microphone. What is an ultrasonic microphone, you may very well ask? Well, it's a microphone that can record well beyond the range of human hearing. Our hearing is typically somewhere between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz, though most adults can't hear up to 20K that well. An ultrasonic microphone can record well beyond that range, and the microphone we're talking about today is the Sanken CO-100K. And this microphone can actually record up to 100 kilohertz. There are some practical limitations to that, but we'll talk about that shortly. And at this point, you may very well be saying, but Akash, you fragrant zest of lemon gracing a delicate souffle. Why would I ever use an ultrasonic microphone when a regular mic is just fine? Well, that's a good question, because in the vast majority of cases, a regular mic is fine. But when we record beyond the range of human hearing, things get interesting, specifically when we start to pitch things down. Most sound designers know that pitch shifting is one of the most common tools that we use to create sounds, and we also know that when we start to pitch things too much, they start to sound garbly and full of artifacts, unclear, and generally undesirable. When we take a sound that we've recorded and pitch it down too much, that lack of clarity comes from getting rid of all the high and mid frequencies that we previously had in the sound. Meaning that if we take a sound that has a full frequency spectrum and then quash it so that all of the sounds pitch down to the point where there's only low frequencies left, it tends to sound unclear. So once you pitch the sound down enough, you just remove all the frequencies that make the sound full and clear. But when we take a sound that has ultrasonic frequencies recorded into it, well beyond the range of 20 kilohertz, and we pitch that down, what ends up happening is we have lots of information and lots of material beyond the range of human hearing that we're now bringing into the audible spectrum. This means that even though the sound has been pitched down, we're taking a bunch of high frequency material that we didn't hear before and bringing it into the audible spectrum, meaning that we still have a full frequency sound. These sorts of ultrasonic recordings have a bunch of different uses, but they become incredibly useful when it comes to recording and creating otherworldly or even monstrous types of sounds, especially voices. Now let's do a little comparison. I'm going to record my voice using this regular old microphone that you're hearing me talk through now, which is the Rode NTG2 shotgun microphone. And I'm also going to record my voice at the same time through the ultrasonic microphone, the Sanken CO-100K. What we're going to do is take both recordings, pitch them down to hell, and see which one sounds clearer. Now, my settings for this recording are pretty straightforward and pretty simple. I'm using the Zoom F3 portable recorder, which is excellent, and I'm recording at 32-bit float and at 192 kilohertz. The reason I'm recording at such a high sample rate of 192 is because the higher the sample rate, the higher the frequencies we can record. If you want to look more into that, look up something called the Nyquist theorem to learn more. Now that being said, I want to point one thing out, and that's that the Zoom F3 can actually only record up to 80 kilohertz. That's actually true of a lot of portable recorders as well. So even though we're not technically getting up to 100 kilohertz, 80 kilohertz is plenty for our purposes. Okay, so let's take that vocal recording from earlier and just pitch it down. First, we'll pitch down the recording from the Rode NTG2, the standard shotgun microphone. And you can hear that the Rode NTG2 pitch down doesn't sound atrocious, but you're noticing that we're losing a lot of the high frequencies and a lot of the detail in the recording. Now let's pitch down the recording from the Sanken mic and hear how that sounds. Now granted, these microphones do have different polar patterns and are just different mics in general, so the tonality is different, but there should be a good comparison. You can hear that I can take this Sanken mic and just start pitching it down more and more and more, and it still sounds audible, it still sounds crisp, and it still sounds, more importantly, usable. Now, on top of just being able to design cooler and cooler monster sounds and otherworldly sounds, it's also cool to be able to record sounds using this thing and add it to my library, and to get more flexibility out of every sound I record down the line. Basically, if I need to pitch any of these sounds down or manipulate them more, I have more room to play with them. And it's at this point I have very bad news for you, because some of you may be asking, well, this is cool, but how much does this microphone cost? Well, unfortunately, this mic is $2,500, which is not cheap. But good news, there are actually much cheaper ultrasonic microphones out there and available. From what I've heard, the SO4 ultrasonic microphones only cost about $100 and actually sound pretty darn good. I've never used them myself, but I hear good things. If you want me to though, I'm happy to make a part 2 to this video using those cheaper microphones and comparing them to the more expensive one and see how they shape up. Just let me know in the comments. And I also know that gear like this tends to be really inaccessible, so I want to record a bunch of sound effects using this microphone and just give them out to people on my newsletter. So if that's something that would interest you, just make sure you let me know, again, in the comments. And if you're not on the newsletter already, feel free to sign up here or in the description below. You'll get 2 free courses, free sounds, free ebooks, and all sorts of advice on how to make a full-time living in the game industry. Alright, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know if you want a part 2 to this. Go pet a dog.